What a Spursy season it has been for Tottenham so far, right guys? What we've been seeing from them has been absolutely crazy, mind-blowing, shocking, all sorts of adjectives. But most importantly, it has been a real paradox. A wise man once said, sometimes may be good, sometimes may be shit, and there just isn't a better phrase which describes Spurs right now.
Sometimes may be good, sometimes may be shit.
Guys, this is the paradox of Tottenham Hotspur F.C. It is no secret that Spurs are now actively in a relegation fight. If it didn't feel like it before, their most recent loss to Crystal Palace has definitely established that. The North London Giants are now just a point above the relegation zone, so there is no longer any margin for error. One wrong move now and they could find themselves in the bottom three. With the likes of Wolves, Burnley, West Ham, Leeds and even Nottingham Forest recently picking up form, things are not looking good for Spurs at all. In fact, they are the team in the worst form in the Premier League right now. Nottingham Forest have lost 3 of their last 5 games, Burnley have lost 3 of their last 5, Leeds have lost 2 of their last 5, while both West Ham and Wolves have lost just 1 of their last 5 matches. But guys, guess how many Spurs have lost in their last 5? All! They have lost every single one of their last 5 matches. They still haven't won a Premier League game in 2026. We're in March. It's incredible what's happening to them this season, and it looks much worse with context. First of all, we're talking about Spurs here, literally one of the Premier League's big 6. To see them in a relegation fight is just so strange, but even more strange when you remember that they find themselves in this position for the 2nd season in a row. Last season they finished just 1 place above the relegation zone, and many would tell you that they only survived the drop because the teams that went down last season were just so bad. This season though, everyone is putting up a big fight, which makes you fear for Tottenham. Last season felt like a freak season for the Lily-Whites, a one-off. The team suffered way too many injuries which made it super difficult for them to properly compete. Well, this season they've also suffered some massive injury blows. On top of all this, their leaders have not exactly been helping. Club captain Christian Romero picked up a red card against Man United, which caused him to miss 4 games including the North London derby. Then against Palace vice-captain Van der Ven picked up a red card, which means that he will miss their big clash against Liverpool. It just feels like everything that can go wrong in the Premier League is just going absolutely wrong for them, just like it did last season. But here's the thing, while their league season is in tatters, they keep flying in Europe, and that's the real paradox. Last season, while they finished just a place above the relegation zone, they went all the way to win the Europa League, breaking their 17-year trophy drought. It was also their first European trophy in 41 years. And of course, winning that trophy also gave them passage into this season's Champions League, so the fans were happy. They had finally won a trophy again, and their return to the Champions League meant that they could still pull top players and rebuild the team, so it was easy to quickly put the league performance behind them. Then in the summer, they tried to actually strengthen the squad with signings like Mohamed Kudus and Xavi Simons. They also decided not to get carried away by the trophy win, sacking Ange Postecoglou and replacing him with Thomas Frank. Admittedly, sacking the coach that broke your trophy drought was a massive gamble, but they decided it was worth a shot. Well, that gamble absolutely did not pay off because the paradox of Tottenham Hotspur continued into this season. They continued to be horrible in the league but exceptional in Europe. They finished in the top 8 in the league phase of the UEFA Champions League, securing straight passage into the round of 16. But with context, that run was even more impressive. In the league phase, only Arsenal conceded fewer goals than Spurs, and Guglielmo Vicario was the goalkeeper who kept the most clean sheets. Spurs didn't just finish in the top 8, they finished 4th, ahead of the likes of Barcelona, Man City, Chelsea, PSG and Real Madrid. How the heck can a team be fighting relegation in their domestic league and doing so well in the Champions League? That's a real paradox right there. But we think it's more than just doing well in Europe. Spurs just generally appear to do better in games where you expect them to fail, and they fail when you expect them to cruise. In the UEFA Super Cup game at the beginning of the season, everyone expected PSG to absolutely obliterate Spurs, but they held their own and took a 2-goal lead early in the second half. They very nearly took the win, save for a 94th minute equaliser by Gonzalo Ramos. Unfortunately, they were unable to win the game on penalties. They would face PSG again in the Champions League, and once again, they gave a good account of themselves against the European champions, scoring 3 goals against what felt like an impenetrable defence. That turned out to be the only game they lost in the league phase. In the Premier League, there was a similar theme. They somehow picked up 4 points out of 6 against Man City, came out with a result at St James Park, and took a point from Man United at home. Meanwhile, when you expected them to beat Wolves at home, they only came out with a draw. When you expected them to beat Forest away, they lost by 3-0. And when you expected them to beat Palace at home, especially after taking a 34th minute lead, they somehow threw it all away. It's so difficult to understand what's going on with this team. With the way their season has been going, we won't be so shocked if they go and get good results from the games against Atletico Madrid and Liverpool. These are games everyone is expecting them to lose, but the Spursy thing would be to win those games. But of course, this is simply not sustainable, especially for a club of Tottenham's stature. They have changed managers, but nothing appears to have changed. They can blame injuries all they want, but there just cannot be an excuse for a club this size being in a relegation fight. Worse still, in back-to-back season. There can be no excuse at all. There are top players in that squad. We're talking about players who have won the World Cup, the Nations League, Copa America, the Olympics. They are capable of more, a whole lot more. All they need to do is switch on, focus on the task, and stop making silly errors. They have picked up so many silly red cards, which have cost them very dearly this season. The coach must ensure to instill discipline in his team. That would be a massive first step for them. They also need to keep it simple. The tactics, the setup, the passing patterns, everything has to be simple. When in trouble, it's important to just return to the basics. Luckily for them, a good number of their remaining games come against teams around them, so they must make sure to pick up maximum points in those games. They play Forest, Brighton, Wolves and Leeds between now and the end of the season. All 4 of these teams sit between 14th and 20th on the table. If Spurs can win every one of those games, they have a real chance of surviving the drop. If they do survive, then the summer has to be dedicated to a massive overhaul. Not just patches here and there, but an actual rebuilding. New players, new coaches, new medical team, new management, everything. Players like Romero and Van de Ven might want to leave to join top clubs. Let them. Take the money being offered and use it to rebuild the team. If the club manages to survive this calamitous and paradoxical season only to find themselves in the same position again next season, it would be a massive disaster of mind-blowing proportions. At this point, it is almost certain that they won't be in any European competition next season, and that could be great for them. 1 game a week might do them a whole lot of good. I mean, it looks like it is doing Man United a lot of good this season, so maybe that's exactly what Spurs need. Anyway, we now want to hear from you guys. What exactly is the issue with Spurs, in your opinion? Why are they terrible in the league but great in Europe? Do you think they can actually get relegated this season? Tell us what you think in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Also, turn on the bell notification so you never miss out on new content. Catch you in the next one. Bye.
Goal 90 Shop, your one-stop solution for all your World Cup needs.